Guys, so today I am going to be baking something for you. In my mind, I'm going to be making a lemon meringue pie. It might be traditional, it might not be traditional. Somewhere along the way, I might change my mind and add something else into it. You never know, because this is how I am with baking and when I test my recipes. But I'm just going to take you through my steps, what I do, how I make it, the ingredients that I use. I won't give you the ratios, but I will give you some tips and tricks and just the things that I do. When I start every recipe, I basically scale all my ingredients, and for the purpose of this video, I separated them in different bowls, but because for this recipe, I could have combined everything except the water. So we have the flour, which it's unsifted. I will sift it later. We have the cold butter, which I should have cubed, but you know, that's okay. I have my water and I have my salt and sugar. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my sugar, salt to my flour, and then I'm going to pour it over into the sifter. And I'm going to sift my flour. It just helps. Some people don't sift. But yes, I like to sift my flour, sometimes multiple times, but today I'm only going to sift it once. So here you go. My next step is to combine the butter and the flour together. So for this step, I am going to use my hands to break up the butter, which is why it should have been cubed, but I had my butter out earlier, so it's okay. So I just break it up with the flour to make a course meal. And I'll show you what that looks like because I have to use both hands to accomplish this faster. Because, you know, as much as I love baking, I'm not going to stay in the kitchen for the entire day. It's a course meal, but if you take a look at this, you still have some butter clumps, which is fine, perfectly fine for a nice flaky pie crust, which is what I'm going for. So hopefully this works. It should work, but yes. So you have a bit of butter clumps, and now I'm gonna add my water. So once I pour the water in, I will combine, as in I will stir it around just until the dough comes together, because you don't want to overwork the dough, because once you overwork the dough, then your pastry will no longer be as flaky as you want it. Sometimes it can be downright tough. It's happened to me before. So what I like to do here, once it's like halfway combined, I like to pour it out on my work surface and just knead it in a little bit so that it can come together. You might even need to add a little more water if it doesn't work for you, but I don't think I need more water. I just need to work it. Just work it in a little longer. Just a little more. See? It's coming combined. Ooh, like look at the butter chunks. I love it. I have completely worked in all the loose flour. I didn't overwork the dough. I just worked it enough so that it's combined. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to wrap this in saran wrap or plastic wrap. And I'm going to put it in the fridge to chill just a little bit because I don't want the butter melting on me. I want it to be solidified just a bit so that it's easy for me to roll. So this is going to be wrapped, and then once this is finished, as in once it's ready, I will show you what the process is. So it is wrapped and ready to go. Not too tight, not too loose, just enough. So I'm going to pop this baby in the fridge, and it's probably going to be in there until I completely make my filling, and my filling is cool. So once that's done, once the filling is cooled, I can roll this out, put it in a pan, and we can bake. So this is going to go in the fridge for about 10-15 minutes or even longer. You never know. Okay, as with the pie dough, I scaled all my ingredients prior to. This is my egg yolks, this is sugar and water, and this is cornstarch and sugar. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to whisk these egg yolks until they're light, not necessarily fluffy, but until they're just mixed and combined. And I'm going to stir this or mix it with my whisk to combine the sugar and the cornstarch. This baby is going to go on the stove and it's going to come to a boil, and once it's to a boil, I will be combining it with the whisk egg yolks. I'm just mixing this together just so that the cornstarch and the sugar can be combined. There's nothing special, it's just gonna help the process to move along. So I'm just mixing the egg yolks. I'm gonna combine, I made a mistake earlier by saying that I'm gonna add the water to the egg yolks. I'm not gonna do that just yet. I am going to mix the cornstarch and sugar with the egg yolks and whisk it, and you'll see it'll change color over time. And then I'm going to be tempering my egg yolks with my boiled mixture. Now that my cornstarch and sugar are in my egg yolks, I'm just going to mix them together. And once we have a solid mixture, I'll just let it sit until my boiled water is ready. It looks like once I whisk the cornstarch and the sugar together. So it's just thick, ribbony, stuff like that. Don't mind that. That's my book in the corner. But yeah, so I'm just gonna do this some more so that once my water mixture is ready, we'll just temper the egg yolks. And when I say tempering, I just mean that when I pour the hot mixture into the egg yolks and I stir constantly, it brings this mixture to the same temperature as the hot one. I'm not pouring everything, it's just some, so that my eggs don't curdle and I don't make scrambled eggs. Nobody wants scrambled eggs, not in this situation. Also at this stage where I add in my lemon zest, because I did say we were gonna make lemon meringue pie. So I'm just gonna add it in, gotta scrape that down. And we're gonna mix it in until everything is combined, and then we'll be done. Okay, so while my filling is getting ready, I am going to roll my dough out because it's ready now. I'm gonna roll it out, I'm gonna put it in a pan, and I'm gonna pre-bake it. The reason why I'm baking it before my filling is ready is because my filling is a cooked filling, so it needs a baked pie shell to be in. So once the pie shell is baked and cooled, once my filling is done and cooled, or I should say ready and cooled, then I'll pour it in my pie shell and I'll top it with my meringue. Obviously, I won't be able to show you me rolling at the moment because I'm just not set up for that, but this is just me starting. I'm just going to continue to roll. See, you could still see the butter chunks, which is going to make for a great pastry. So I'm just going to roll it out. I'm going to put it in my pie shell, and I'm going to not partially bake it, but I'm going to bake it. And I preheated my oven already, so once this is ready, pop it in and we'll go. I expect a little shrinkage because it just naturally happens that way, but we'll see. You and I will be pleasantly surprised. What you want to do is you want to roll your dough slightly bigger than the container that you're gonna, like your pan, your shell, whatever you want to call this. You roll your dough slightly bigger than what it is so that it's just easier for you to put the dough in, cut the edges, and bake it. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just a lot easier. Because if you don't, once you put the dough in, it'll probably be somewhere here. You want it to be hanging over so that you can cut the dough, so that you can get a perfectly shaped pie crust. In this case, I don't know how perfect it's gonna be, but we are about to find out. I rolled it just a little larger than the pan, and it's hanging over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around the edges, and I am going to put another pan in here and bake it upside down. This will eliminate a lot of the shrinkage for me, but you never know, because to me, the dough does whatever it wants to do, and I just let it. It's a fun bake day, so we're going to see what we come up with. I used this plastic scraper. I put another pan inside, and I just trimmed the edges. As you can see, this is the excess of the dough, and this is what we have. So I am going to leave this in here like this, and I'm gonna turn it upside down and put it in the oven on a baking tray and bake it. I'm going to bake it for possibly 15 to 20 minutes, but I'm gonna test the doneness. I'm gonna see what color it is. I'm gonna see, there's a lot of variables that come into play in this dough for me. Just took the pan out of the oven. This is what it looks like. What I'm gonna do is, it's not ready yet, as you can see, it's still a bit raw. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to flip it upside down and bake it for a little more. Right now it was in the oven for about, I want to say 15 minutes, 15-20 minutes, but it's not ready as yet. But as you can see it's flaky. You can tell that it's flaky. It's so good. I'm so excited. So now we're just gonna flip it and put it back in the oven and let it bake for a little bit more. But this is flipped now. What is that? Okay, so it's flipped. See, I didn't experience much shrinkage. So putting 2 pans and flipping it helps if you're gonna pre-bake your dough. So this is gonna go back into the oven for about 10 more minutes, just until the middle is cooked, and then we're good. And it's a little browner. I need it to be a little darker, and then we're good. This is the dough. This is what it looks like. Now, I still want a little more color. It is no longer raw, it's cooked. I just want more color. So I'm gonna pop it back in the oven so that I can get more color on it. So our pie crust is ready. I think it's ready. I like it. See, not a lot of shrinkage, which is what we want. So, oh, look at all those flakes. It's gonna be delicious. Giving you a quick view of the water and sugar boiling. It's nothing special. You just bring it to a boil, and then we're ready to go. So now that our dough is ready, it's baked, so now it's gonna cool. I'm gonna complete the filling. So this is our egg, sugar, cornstarch, and lemon zest mixture. So I just, whipped it up a bit, made sure everything was good, and I boiled the water and the sugar previously. So now what's gonna happen is, while the water is warm, we're gonna pour it in and we're gonna stir. Important to note that I only pour it a little bit just so that I can temper the egg yolks, make sure that both mixtures are the same temperature. And once I am satisfied with that, I will combine this mixture into the water, or the water into this, whichever one, and then I will return it back to the stove. What I'm about to do is I am going to strain this mixture because it has lemon zest in it. I believe it's a personal preference. I personally don't want lemon zest in my final product. I just want the flavor. So I'm just going to strain it into the remainder of the water and return it to the stove. What I'll say is you can strain before or after. Some people strain after only because your flavor intensifies while you cook. Like it's lemon zest, so it will intensify, but I decided to strain it before because although I want a strong lemon flavor, I don't want an overpowering flavor. Right now, I'm just cooking the mixture. We're gonna cook until it's thickened, and once it's thickened, I will add lemon juice and butter and let it cool. As you can see, the mixture started to thicken, so I'm gonna mix it some more. Once all the froth is gone and everything, then I'll add my lemon juice and I'll add my butter and I'll let it cool. So the mixture has finally thickened. This is what it looks like. The lemon juice will be added, and I will continue to stir until we have the final mixture. Okay, as with anything, I scaled my ingredients. This is water and sugar, and this is egg whites. I am going to be making the meringue now. So I'm going to be boiling the sugar until it gets to 118 degrees Celsius, close to 120, but 118. Once it gets to 110, I'm going to start whipping my egg whites. Our sugar is going, it is not quite at temperature yet, so I use the candy thermometer. It helps you just gauge. I'm not an expert, so I need a thermometer to help me. Ooh. So yeah, it's gonna boil for a little bit, and when it's at the right temperature, I will start my egg whites. While I wait for the meringue to get ready, I'm just gonna show you. So here's the cooled pie crust, and I had a little accident, but don't worry. It's still a good crust. And this is my filling. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the filling and I'm gonna pour it into the pie shell, smooth it out, and I believe I am going to chill it for a few minutes until it's completely set. I mean, it's already set because as it cools it sets, but I want it to be firm by the time I put my meringue on. So yeah, I started my egg whites because my sugar was at the correct temperature. So now we're gonna whip this. Once the sugar's ready, we're gonna pour. The sugar's ready along with the egg whites, so now I'm gonna pour. So with the mixing of the meringue, I normally check the consistency. This is a bit soft for me, so I need it a bit firmer. So I'm just gonna whip until it gets firm, and hopefully it does, but we'll be surprised. Mixture is ready. It looks a bit soft, but it's firm enough to do what I want it to do. See, there's a little peak right there. So what's gonna happen now is I am going to take this and put it on top of my filling. This is what the filling looks like in the cooled pie shell. And yeah, I'm just gonna add the meringue on top, possibly torch it, and then we're done. I put the meringue on. This is what it looks like. It looks simple, but it's simple yet delicious, which is why I like it. It's one of those pies that it's not a lot of work. It's very simple and it's very delicious. Unfortunately, my torch is not working. So I can't torch this beautiful, beautiful pie. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. But that's the process of how I make a lemon meringue pie without the torch. I hope you enjoyed.